Welcome to Health 2660. Here we don't just talk about health, we tell the stories that heal. Now please listen to the story. My reflection in the bathroom mirror wasn't just showing the lines etched deeper around my eyes or the thinning patch on the crown of my head. It was reflecting defeat. Defeat, etched in the slump of my shoulders, in the weary droop of my eyelids, in the almost imperceptible tremor in my hands as I reached for my toothbrush. At 68, I'd surrendered to the narrative of inevitable decline. For years, I'd meticulously followed the well-trodden path of healthy eating, or what I thought was healthy eating. I diligently scanned nutrition labels, proudly boasting about my low-fat, high-fiber diet. Red meat, only on special occasions and always trimmed of every last sliver of visible fat. Butter, a culinary pariah banished from my kitchen and replaced by flavorless, supposedly heart-healthy spreads. Avocados. Well, those were supposed to be good fats, right? I ate half an avocado a day, feeling virtuous. But despite my efforts, my body felt like it was waging a silent war against me. My joints ached with a dull, persistent throb. My energy flagged by mid-morning, leaving me dragging myself through the day. Sleep became a nightly struggle, tossing and turning, haunted by the phantom pains in my knees and ankles. The doctors, bless their hearts, were reassuringly dismissive. "It's just age, Walter," they'd say, patting my shoulder with practiced sympathy. "Things start to wear out. It's normal." Normal. That word hung in the air like a lead weight, suffocating any hope I might have harbored for a different kind of aging. Normal meant accepting a life of increasing limitations, a gradual descent into immobility and dependence. I watched my wife, Linda, bustle around the kitchen, her movements still fluid and graceful. She was the same age, yet she seemed to defy the very concept of normal aging. She gardened, she walked with her friends, she even took a yoga class twice a week. I envied her vitality, a quiet, gnawing envy that was tinged with guilt. I knew I wasn't the husband she deserved, the companion she'd hoped for in our golden years. I was becoming a burden. The incident with Max was the breaking point. My grandson, Max, is the light of my life. A whirlwind of boundless energy and unbridled curiosity, he fills our lives with laughter and joy. Walking him to school was a cherished ritual, a chance to connect with him, to hear about his latest adventures, to feel the warmth of his small hand in mine. That morning, however, my body betrayed me. We hadn't even reached the halfway point when a searing pain shot through my knees, radiating down my legs like molten lead. I was forced to stop, gasping for breath, my face flushed with exertion. Max, oblivious to my discomfort, skipped ahead, then turned back, his brow furrowed with concern. "Grandpa, are you okay?" His innocent question pierced me like an arrow. Okay. No, I wasn't okay. I was a shadow of my former self, a broken-down version of the man I used to be. I forced a smile, trying to reassure him, but my voice trembled. "Just a little tired, Max. Let's take a break." We sat on a park bench, watching the other children walk past their steps, light and carefree. I felt a profound sense of loss, a realization that I was missing out on precious moments with my grandson, that I was allowing my physical limitations to rob us both of joy. Later that day, consumed by a mixture of frustration and desperation, I found myself wandering aimlessly through the local hardware store. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, just seeking a distraction from the relentless ache in my body. That's when I saw George. George was my neighbor, a retired engineer who shared my passion for hiking. We'd spent countless hours trekking through the mountains, conquering challenging trails, reveling in the breathtaking views. But that was years ago. My creaking joints and dwindling stamina had forced me to abandon our adventures, leaving George to explore the wilderness alone. I hadn't seen George in months, and I was struck by how different he looked. He stood tall and erect, his eyes sparkling with vitality. His skin had a healthy glow, and his movements were fluid and energetic. He looked younger. "George, it's great to see you," I said, extending my hand. He grasped my hand firmly, his grip surprisingly strong. "Walter, what a pleasant surprise. How have you been?" I hesitated, unsure how to answer. I didn't want to burden him with my complaints, but I couldn't bring myself to feign enthusiasm. Finally, I opted for a hesitant truth. "To be honest, George, I haven't been feeling my best. My legs are killing me. It's getting harder and harder to get around." George listened patiently, his gaze unwavering. When I finished, he nodded thoughtfully. "Walter, it might be your fats." I stared at him dumbfounded. "My fats? What are you talking about?" He chuckled. "Most people our age are eating all the wrong ones. They're clinging to outdated ideas about what's healthy, and they're suffering for it." He went on to explain how conventional wisdom about fat was often misguided, how the low-fat craze had led people to replace healthy fats with processed carbohydrates and sugary foods, which in turn contributed to inflammation and weight gain. He talked about the importance of consuming healthy fats, like omega-3 fatty acids, which could help reduce inflammation and support joint health. I was skeptical, but intrigued. I'd always been told that fat was the enemy, the culprit behind heart disease and obesity. Could it be possible that I'd been wrong all along? That night, George emailed me a link to a health video he said had opened his eyes. I almost dismissed it as just another piece of internet quackery, but his words lingered in my mind. Something about the way he said it with quiet conviction, not salesmanship, stuck with me. And frankly, sleep was evading me as usual. So I clicked play. The video featured a panel of experts, a nutritionist, a geriatrician, and a chef, who debunked common myths about fat and aging. They explained how the body's ability to process certain fats diminishes with age, particularly saturated animal fats and heavily processed vegetable oils. They emphasized the importance of choosing fats wisely, focusing on sources rich in omega-3 fatty acids, medium-chain triglycerides, MCTs, and conjugated linoleic acid, CLA. The video highlighted specific foods to avoid, including processed meats, dairy creamers laden with thickeners and artificial flavors, and excessive amounts of certain plant-based fats like avocado and chia seeds. Apparently, while healthy in moderation, these foods could contribute to inflammation and fat buildup in the bloodstream, especially in older adults with slower digestion and weakened liver function. One study, cited in the video, showed that consuming processed deli meat more than 4 times a week increased the risk of joint pain by over 30% and significantly impaired muscle recovery. Another study suggested that excessive avocado consumption could lead to fat accumulation in the bloodstream, particularly in individuals with reduced bile production. The video wasn't just about what to avoid. It also offered specific recommendations for fats to embrace. Fatty fish, like salmon, mackerel, and sardines, were hailed as powerhouses of omega-3 fatty acids. Coconut flesh was praised for its MCTs, which provide a quick and efficient source of energy. And beef tallow from grass-fed cattle was touted for its CLA content, which helps improve muscle function and reduce belly fat. I was stunned. The very foods I considered staples of my healthy diet. The turkey, slices, the coffee creamer, even the avocado, were potentially exacerbating my health problems. It felt like the rug had been pulled out from under me. I looked around my kitchen, at the coffee creamer sitting innocently on the counter, at the package of turkey slices in the refrigerator, at the bottle of avocado oil I'd been so diligently using. A wave of disbelief washed over me. Could it be possible that I'd been unwittingly poisoning myself with the very foods I thought were nourishing me? That night, I couldn't sleep a wink. My mind raced with questions and doubts. Could George and the experts in the video be right? Was it possible to reverse the aging process simply by changing my diet? Was it worth taking a chance on a completely different approach to eating? The next morning, I woke up with a renewed sense of determination. I decided to experiment to challenge my long-held beliefs to see if I could indeed reclaim my health and vitality by embracing a different kind of fat. The shift wasn't drastic, but rather a series of small, incremental changes. I started by replacing the coffee creamer with unsweetened almond milk. The taste was different, a bit nutty and less creamy, but I quickly adjusted. I added a dash of cinnamon, which enhanced the flavor and provided a subtle sweetness. It actually felt lighter, cleaner. Next, I banished deli meats from my refrigerator. No more turkey slices, no more ham, no more processed sandwich fixings. Instead, I started boiling eggs, whole eggs, yolks and all, and keeping them in the fridge. One in the morning with breakfast, a second at lunch with a sprinkle of sea salt. I also scaled back my avocado habit. Instead of half an avocado a day, I limited myself to a quarter every other day. I paired it with lean protein and leafy greens, avoiding the temptation to add more fats. The biggest change, however, involved fish. I'd always eaten salmon, but I meticulously peeled off the skin, repulsed by its rubbery texture. Now, I started roasting salmon fillets, with the skin on crisping it in the oven with a touch of sea salt and rosemary. The skin transformed into a delectable, crunchy treat bursting with flavor. I didn't expect much. I braced myself for disappointment for another failed attempt to alleviate my aching joints. But within 2 weeks, something remarkable happened. One evening, as I stood up from my recliner, I noticed a subtle but significant difference. My knees didn't groan. The stiffness wasn't completely gone, but it had eased considerably. I hadn't even reached for my usual afternoon nap. Linda noticed it first. "You're moving easier," she said, her eyes widening with surprise. "Did you take something?" I smiled a genuine smile that reached all the way to my eyes. "Nope," I replied. I stopped taking something. Emboldened by my progress, I decided to add another element to my dietary experiment: shredded coconut flesh. Not coconut oil, but raw, unsweetened flakes. Just 2 spoonfuls in my morning oatmeal. The coconut flakes provided a subtle, sustained energy boost that I hadn't experienced in years. There was no sugar crash, no sluggishness, just a steady stream of vitality that carried me through the day. The video had explained that the medium-chain triglycerides, MCTs, in coconut bypass the liver and provide direct fuel to the muscles and brain. Perhaps that's why I started waking up earlier, feeling sharper and more alert. I was hungrier, not for food, but for movement, for activity. I also began exploring the benefits of beef tallow from grass-fed cattle. I'd grown up in a household where beef was considered a luxury and fat was the enemy. But I slowly reintroduced small portions of untrimmed, slow-braised beef short ribs into our weekly meals cooked gently without charring. The fat rendered slowly and meticulously imparted a rich, savory flavor that tantalized my taste buds. More importantly, it didn't make me feel sluggish or heavy. It made me feel grounded, nourished, and strong. I learned that the stearic acid and conjugated linoleic acid CLA in beef tallow can help improve muscle function and reduce belly fat, both crucial for older adults like me. It was a revelation, a complete reversal of everything I thought I knew about healthy eating. After 6 weeks of this new rhythm, removing the fats that made me ache and welcoming the ones that helped me heal, something truly incredible happened. I climbed the stairs without stopping. Not fast, not without effort, but without pain. I reached the top landing, panting slightly, but without the searing agony that had become my constant companion. I stood there for a moment, savoring the feeling of accomplishment, of reclaiming my body, of defying the limitations of age. It wasn't just physical. My mind felt clearer, sharper, more focused. My afternoon crossword times improved. I felt more decisive, more confident, more engaged with the world around me. Linda and I started going on evening walks again, just around the block at first. Then 2 blocks. Then back to walking Max to school, all 6 blocks and back. He didn't have to ask, "Are you okay?" He just grabbed my hand and said, "Let's go, Grandpa." My new fat routine was simple, sustainable, and deeply healing. Morning. 1 soft-boiled egg with a yolk oatmeal with coconut shreds, black coffee with almond milk. Lunch. Grilled salmon with crispy skin quinoa, steamed broccoli. Snack. Half a hard-boiled egg or a few pumpkin seeds. Dinner. Braised grass-fed beef, short rib with roasted carrots and sweet potato mash. Weekly. 2 to 3 fish meals with skin and whole eggs, 4-5 times per week. It wasn't about cutting fat. It was about choosing the right ones for my age, my body, and my goals. At 68, I don't need to run marathons. I just want to walk tall, to stand without fear, and to hold my grandson's hand without wincing. And now I can. So if you're listening to this and your knees ache by afternoon, if you feel foggy after meals, or your legs feel like anchors when you climb the stairs, maybe it's not your age. Maybe it's your fats. The ones you thought were helping might be holding you back, and the ones you've been told to avoid might be the key to getting your strength back. I'm Walter Jennings, 68, still learning, still walking, still savoring every crispy bite of salmon skin, and I'll never peel it off again. Now I've talked a lot about the impact of fats on my joints and energy levels. But what about my brain? I'm convinced that what I eat has a direct correlation to my cognitive function. And I've started to explore specific fats that may be the key to sharper memory and focus as I get older. I'm particularly interested in the role of DHA, omega-3 fatty acids, and their potential impact on slowing down age-related cognitive decline. It's a new frontier for me, and frankly, I'm a little intimidated. Could the same principles that restored my mobility also unlock new levels of mental clarity? And more importantly, how do I even begin to navigate the overwhelming world of brain-boosting supplements and dietary recommendations? Health 2660. Thanks you for listening. We'll see you in the next video, and until then, be kind to yourself.